Good morning. Glad to see all these shining faces. I will call the meeting of Senate Finance to order, and would the committee secretary please call the roll?
Senator Canizaro, Senator Goycochea, Senator Harris, Senator Neal, Senator Nguyen, Senator Severs-Gansert, Senator Titus, Chair Dondarolu.
Thank you very much, and I believe everybody is present, so we're on a roll. Would you please make sure that your cell phones are silenced? And today on the agenda, we are hearing 6 bills, and we have several bills for work session. So we're going to start with the work session because we do have some members that need to be in and out to present bills. So if Mr. Thorley, if you'll walk us through, and we may do a work session at the end as well, but we're going to start with our work session. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. We'll begin with the work session on Senate Bill 244. Senate Bill 244 was heard on March 28th in this committee. It provides general fund appropriations of $1.5 million in FY 2024 and $1.5 million in FY 2025 to the Department of Education's other state education programs account for allocation to nonprofits to create and maintain school garden programs, and requires reporting to the Interim Finance Committee on expenditures from the money appropriated. The effective date of the act is July 1st, 2023. The bill was presented by Senator Pezzina, and there was testimony and support provided by the NSEA, the Vegas Chamber, and a group of charter schools from Washoe County. There was no testimony in opposition. There was one or a couple individuals in neutral. Linda, I can't read my writing, a school teacher and an administrator. Flaherty, there you go. Thank you, Chair. And the Healthy Communities Coalition. There is an amendment from Senator Pezzina that you all should have in front of you. It's titled Conceptual Amendment for Senate Bill 244, dated today. The conceptual amendment would, in section 1, would change the language that it currently exists, kindergarten through grade 5 to pre-kindergarten through grade 6, so it would expand the program through pre-K through 12. Also in section 1, sub 3G, it would change Advisory Council on Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics to Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology, or OSIT. Happy to answer any questions that the committee members might have.
Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Thorley, for the explanation. Certainly supportive of the concept, but we heard yesterday in a testimony that there are other groups who, other nonprofits that help with school gardens afterwards. So if this money goes to this Department of Education or the Advisory Council, Office of Science and Technology, they'll be able to reward these grants based on their judgment of what they think is an adequate program, and not just one program gets this.
Senator Pezzina, would you like to come up and address that? Thank you very much for being here today. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Julie Pezzina for the record, and thank you so much for having me. Yes, those organizations that are accredited by the Nevada Department of Education, any of those organizations can receive the funds. And the reason we look for the accreditation is just to have accountability. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions for the senator before we lose her? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator. And with that being said, I'll accept a motion. So moved by Senator Canizaro.
Is that amend and do pass?
I'm sorry, amend and do pass. Second by Senator Nguyen. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Senator Pizzina. The school garden will be happy, and you can take the floor statement. All right. Yes, we'll keep going on the. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Crockett, when you're ready.
Kathy Crockett, Fiscal Analysis Division. The next bill for work session is Senate Bill 285. This bill was heard in committee on March 28th. It provides general fund appropriations of $250,000 in fiscal year 24 and $250,000 in fiscal year 25 to the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement to support civic education programs such as We the People, and requires reporting to the Interim Finance Committee on expenditures. This bill is effective on July 1st, 2023, and was presented by Chair Dondera Loop, accompanied by members of the Center for Civic Engagement. There were 5 individuals who testified in support of the bill, including board members of the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement. There were no individuals in opposition or neutral on the bill.
Thank you very much. Any questions on this particular item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion. So moved by Senator Gansert and second by Senator Titus. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Senate Bill 339.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record. Senate Bill 339 was heard by this committee on April 3rd. It creates the, in its current form, creates the Teacher School Supplies Assistance Account to provide money to teachers for the purchase of necessary school supplies for their students to be administered by the Department of Education. The Department of Education would be required to appropriate the money available in the account among school districts and charter schools based on the number of teachers, up to $500 per teacher per year. Each school district and charter school would then disperse the money to the teachers to be used for school supplies. There is a $10 million general fund appropriation in FY 2024 for the program. There is a conceptual amendment that you should have at your desk from Chair Dondera Loop. The amendment is a gut and replace, so it would replace all the existing provisions in the bill, and instead would make a $10 million appropriation to the Department of Education for the purpose of creating a grant program to allow teachers and specialized instructional support personnel to obtain necessary supplies and materials for their classrooms or school operations. The amendment would also require the Department of Education to enter into an agreement with one or more organizations to receive a grant from the department for the purpose of administering the program for teachers and specialized instructional support personnel, to request necessary supplies and materials, and using the grant money to produce such supplies and materials and provide them directly to teachers and the specialized instructional support personnel. The amendment would also require that the agreement that is entered into by the department include a limitation that the maximum amount of grant funding that can be used to fulfill the request of any individual teacher or specialized instructional support personnel is $500, but that a request in excess of that amount can be made, and to the extent money from other source other than the grant program is available, it can be fulfilled. So the dollar amount, the $10 million appropriation, does not change from the bill that in its current form to the proposed amendment. When the bill was heard on April 3rd, there were several organizations that provided testimony in support of the bill, including CCEA, Washoe County Charter Schools, City of Henderson, Vegas Chamber, several teachers, parents of students, and the NSEA and the Charter School Association. There was no testimony in opposition. The Nevada Association of School Superintendents provided testimony in neutral. Happy to answer any questions that the committee members might have.
Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Mr. Thorley. One question that I had at the original hearing was, and I'm still not clear on it, does the money roll over if not used, since if we're using general funds? Will it roll over or will it revert back?
So it is my understanding, Senator, Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division, Senator Titus, that it's my understanding that the general fund appropriations would go into the other state education programs account, which is a reverting account. So any balance that is not expended by the end of the biennium would revert to the general fund. But it would be available for both fiscal years, for 24 and 25.
Any additional questions on this item? All right, with that, I will accept a motion. So moved by Senator Canizaro. Second by Senator Wynn. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And I know that the teachers out there, as we finish up Teacher Appreciation Week, will appreciate us supporting them. With that, Mr. Thorley, floor statement will be me. Thank you very much.
So that's
All right, that completes our work session at this point, and so we will move to our bill presentations. And we will start with Senate Bill 282. That is Senator Wynn. You are up. And please go ahead and begin when you are ready.
Good morning, Rochelle Wynn for the record, representing Senate District 3, and I believe they're on your desk. There is a fiscal amendment to Senate Bill 282. What it does is it extends the carryover, the amount of time to spend the carryover monies from 18 months to 24 months. And for those of you that sat on the Education Committee, it initially started off at 12 months, and we have moved it to now that 2 years, that 24 months, and that does remove the fiscal impact from the Department of Education. And we are here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. And with that, do we have any questions? Can you give just a little more information on that amendment? So sort of tell us, with the carryover funds, I understand the amendment, so give me a scenario, if I'm a principal, how that will work.
Yes, Rochelle Wynn for the record. What that does is it was, because that was a mid-year, the 18 months was a mid-year, there would be a different accounting procedures. And I know in speaking with some of the principals, sometimes it's difficult to expend those resources within that 12-month period. That's why we would move to that 18-month period. But this additional 6 months on top of that, so now doubling it from what it originally was, gives more adequate time to be able to expend those resources on those services. As teachers will know and principals will know, sometimes things move slowly at districts in acquiring things, and so this allows more flexibility to use those funds.
I really appreciate that explanation and the extra time, because many times principals know they might need something the following year, they're not ready to purchase. Maybe if it's a product, it might not even, I don't know, if it's a reading book, they might want to get the latest and greatest edition or whatever they're doing. So I appreciate that extra time for them, and I'm sure they do too. Any additional questions on this item? Thank you very much, and thank you for being here with us today. All right, with that, we'll go to testimony in support.
Good morning, Chair Don Daralup and members of the committee. Dylan Keith, DYLAN-KEITH with the Vegas Chamber. We'd like to thank Senator Nguyen for her work on this bill, and we are in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support here in Carson City? Any support in Las Vegas? Seeing none, we'll go to the lines. BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in support of SB 282, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 120 years in support of SB 282. We spoke in favor in education, continue to support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support online, BPS?
No, that concludes all callers testifying in support.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to opposition. Any opposition here in Carson City? Any opposition in Las Vegas? Any opposition on the lines? BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to test position of SB 282, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to neutral. Anyone here in Carson City in neutral? Anyone in Las Vegas in neutral? Anyone on the phone lines in neutral? BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 282, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will, Senator Nguyen, do you have any additional comments? We'll close the hearing, and we're going to go ahead and work session this, we can't. Never mind. We're missing. We will get back to that. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Senate Bill 291. Good morning. If you'll give us just a 1-minute recess, thank you. All right, we will go ahead with Senate Bill 291, and go ahead and begin when you're ready. Are you down in a hole a little bit?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. Good morning to you and to the members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today to present Senate Bill 291, which seeks to make it possible for student teachers to receive substitute pay while completing their coursework in higher education, and provides funding to allow the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV, student cohorts at the Nevada Institute on Teaching and Educator Preparation, or NITEP, to continue their educator preparation program. I will share just some very brief background with you on the NITEP program. This program was instituted during the 2017 legislative session and funded each legislative session via an appropriation thereafter. This program recruits the best and brightest students to be a part of this intensive and hands-on teacher preparation program, and they also make a commitment to begin their teaching careers in Nevada. So these are Nevada teachers that we are working to train up. I would like to turn the microphone over to my co-presenters, but wanted to just touch very quickly on the section of the bill. Section 1 removes a requirement that the student teacher must have completed at least 4 weeks of student teaching in order to qualify for employment as a substitute teacher, and also makes, and what is of particular interest to this committee, an appropriation from the State General Fund of $1,575,000 to Nevada's Department of Education for NITEP, which is in line with the amount of funding provided to NITEP over the past legislative sessions. And it requires the reporting on those expenditures that are made from those funds. With that, Madam Chair, I would like to turn it over to my co-presenter to give a few brief remarks, and then we would be happy to answer any questions. I would note that there are some local government fiscal notes attached. I think there was maybe one or two, one from Carson City School District and then a smaller one from Elko County School District. But like I mentioned, this bill, for the most part, the reason why this committee would be hearing it is because of that appropriation.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome, Dr. Varner. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Kenny Varner. I serve as Associate Dean for Academic Programs and Initiatives in the College of Education at UNLV, and I also serve as the Director of NITEP. Briefly, like myself as a first-generation student, our program serves lots of students who themselves are first generation or from underrepresented groups. NITEP allows for a non-traditional approach even in a traditional preparation program. Since 2020, the program is focused on systematic redesign to ensure that we've enhanced the preparation teachers receive. And since 2021, we've worked in partnership to expand NITEP to both the University of Nevada, Reno, and Nevada State, to make sure that we are able to work with students across the system. And in the next biennium rather, we also look forward to welcoming Great Basin as a part of this collaboration. And with that, I will end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Dr. Varner, I have one question. Will this be able to go right into place, or will there be lead-up time to this specific program?
Kenny Varner for the record, thank you. We're ready to go, and we're ready to go on July 1 and continuation, and that's our hope. So we have students who are mid-cycle that we would like to continue working with, as well as welcoming up to 50 new students. May I also address the fiscal note?
Yes, go ahead, please.
We understand from the Nevada Association of School Superintendents that the large note from Carson is going to be removed. There was some misunderstanding around whether it would obligate them to pay student teachers, which it doesn't, and with that clarification, and they're prepared to speak on behalf of the bill as well, that fiscal note will go away.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. Any additional comments, Senator Canizaro?
No, thank you, Madam
Alrighty.
Chair.
I don't see any more questions, so we'll go to those in support of Senate Bill 291. And please come forward and go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Alejandro Rodriguez, Director of Government Relations for Nevada System of Higher Education, and she reiterates a strong support for this bill, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Don Loop and members of the committee. Dylan Keith with the Vegas Chamber. We would like to thank the Majority Leader as well as the stakeholders for their work on this bill, and we do believe that this is an efficient use of Nevada's taxpayer dollars. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we're in support of this bill and want to thank the sponsor for bringing it forward. And just to reiterate, the Carson City fiscal note has been removed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support in Carson City? Any in Las Vegas? BPS will go to the phone lines.
If you would like to testify in support of SB 291, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association. In support of SB 291, we spoke in favor of the policy. In the Education Committee, we do support the appropriation and have in previous sessions for NICAP. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support online, BPS? Do we have anybody online, BPS?
Yes, there is one more caller. Caller with the last 3 numbers, 565. You're unmuted. Caller with the last 3 numbers, 565. Please press star 6 to unmute.
Hello, this is Sheila Bray with the University of Nevada, Reno. We would like to express our support for Senate Bill 291. We'd like to also thank Senator Cannizzaro for bringing forth this program and to Dr. Kenny Varner for his leadership. This program is great. It provides extended support for the teacher pipeline issue that we face here in Nevada, as well as additional support for our students throughout the program. Thank you for your support.
Hearing no one
That
else.
concludes all callers testifying in support.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to opposition. Anyone here in Carson City in opposition? Anyone in Las Vegas in opposition? Anyone on the lines? BPS, please go ahead when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in opposition for SB 291, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to neutral. Neutral here in Carson City. Neutral in Las Vegas. Neutral on the phone lines. BPS, go ahead when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 291, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in neutral.
Thank you very much. And Senator, do you have any additional comments? And with that, I'll close the hearing. And we will move on to, I think while we have everybody here, we might go back to work session real quick. To work session, Senate Bill 282. Got to pay attention around here. Make sure we get it all done. Mr. Thorley, go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. Senate Bill 282 was heard just a few minutes ago. There is a proposed amendment from the senator that would change just one, sorry, pull up my bill, just one number from 24 to 18 in section, I can't remember what section of the bill it's in. 18 to 24 months, is that, yeah. Yeah, section 1.5, subsection 4, so on page 7 of the bill, line 5. So page 7, line 5, it would change the reference to 18 months to 24 months. So if the committee desires to move this bill, the motion would be to amend and do pass.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll accept a motion to amend and do pass. So moved by Senator Canizaro, second by Senator Harris. Any discussion? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be a no on this motion. I don't support the policy, and I won't put money in bad policy. Thank you.
Senator Gansert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I won't be supporting the motion because I have concerns about some of the requirements in the bill itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? All right, with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Senator Titus and Senator Gansert are noes. I'm sorry, and Senator Gokachia. And with that, motion passes. Floor statement to Senator Wynn. And that will close the work session, and we'll go on to Senate Bill 350.
Good morning, Chair Dendero Loop and members of the Senate Committee on Finance. For the record, my name is Julie Pizzina, representing the ever scenic and beautiful Senate District 12 in Clark County, and I'm proud to present Senate Bill 350 before you today. As you know, we're facing a shortage of medical professionals in Nevada, and this bill aims to expand graduate medical education opportunities, including residency and fellowship programs in the state, to ensure that Nevada medical school graduates and physicians stay in Nevada to practice medicine after their residencies and fellowships conclude. The request for the $17 million appropriation is to cover 4 years rather than the traditional biennium. The governor's graduate medical education budget for the biennium was $8.5 million, and we doubled that for the 4-year spend. In order to stand up fellowships for specialty physicians, we needed the additional time and money to build these programs. As an example, a traditional obstetrics and gynecology residency startup is approximately $2.8 million each year. Senator Titus and I have been working together on funding and policy for graduate medical education, and we would like to incorporate an amendment with funding elements of SB 369. Specifically, it's establishing a credit against the modified business tax to ensure sustainable funding for graduate medical education in Nevada into the future. I'd also like to introduce my co-presenters, Dean Mark Kahn from the Dean of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, and Jesus Medrano, HCA Healthcare Division VP of GME, who will give very brief remarks. And thank you. They're both in Grant Sawyer.
Thank you very much, Senator Pizzina and Dean Kahn. It's always a pleasure to see you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, committee. For the record, Mark Kahn, Dean of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine and Vice President for Health Affairs. So as we all know, Nevada has a crisis in the number of physicians per capita in really every specialty. We know from data from our friends in Reno that a medical student who graduates medical school in our state has about a 50-50 chance of actually practicing in our state. However, if the student does graduate medical education or residency training program, that number approaches 80%. For many, many decades, the federal government, through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, have funded GME, but those positions were capped by a bill passed in 1996 and enacted in 1997. For comparison, Nevada has 404 funded residency spots for the entire state through CMS. California has over 9,000, and New York has over 16,000. So we are woefully undersubscribed. So we appreciate the work of Senator Pezzina and her committee, because the way to get more doctors into Nevada is to expand GME, and this bill attempts to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And go ahead, please, when you're ready.
Jesus Medrano, Vice President of GME for HCA. Last name Medrano. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We'd like to reiterate what Dean Kahn just stated. In addition to that, I will tell you that 30% has been our historical retention rate here in Southern Nevada, and we feel we can get that up to 50 to 60, maybe even 75% retention with fellowships funded. And a good portion of the reason that we're unable to do that or achieve that right now is because there's only a 5-year CMS cap building period. And once you've exceeded that 5 years, then you've locked in, you have no funding source for them. That's where this bill would come in and would essentially allow us to collaborate with folks like UNLV and other institutions to create and retain, because that's our ultimate objective, is to train to retain physicians here in Southern Nevada. Thank you all. Take any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any additional comments, Senator?
Thank you so much. And UNR sent their regrets. They're having their commencement for the medical school today, and so they were also hoping to have someone from their renown come. And we're really looking to ensure that we have graduate medical education throughout the state, Southern, Northern Nevada, and the rurals. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that's a pretty good reason to possibly not be here. Thank you very much. So with that, any questions from the committee? Senator Titus, please.
Not a question, just a comment. I just want to compliment Senator Pezzina on her efforts on this this bill. The fact that she has met with so many folks and worked so hard to get this moving forward, and just her efforts, and so I totally appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments from the committee? All right, with that, we'll go to those in support here in Carson City. Please come forward and go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Ashley Cruz with Corona, Nevada, for the record, here on behalf of Toro University. Toro University graduates 180 doctors every year. We do not have a shortage of medical students in the state of Nevada. We have a shortage of GME residency spots, and we want to ensure that our students who are graduating and the future doctors are staying in Nevada, and so we support this legislation. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Dondero Loop and committee members. My name is Chris Bossy, representing Renown Health. That's B as in boy, O-S-S-E. I'm here today to speak in support of SB 350 and want to thank Senator Pezzina for bringing this important bill that will assist the growth of graduate medical education in Nevada. We've been talking about the significant shortage, and just a couple additional facts to throw at you. We would need an additional 1,500 physicians to just be at the national average. Based on a 2002 survey done by the Nevada Hospital Association, statewide, Approximately 150 to 170 residents complete their training annually, and a number of these physicians have to leave the state to seek specialty and fellowship training. So it's a very low number, and it's very unlikely we're going to get to the 1,500 additional residents that we need. As by way of example, we've been talking a little bit earlier about the impact of capped funding, and I'll just use my own program as an example. The number of residents and fellows that are being able, well, actually that are funded, that Medicare funds, I should say, was capped at Renown Regional back in 1996. Currently, our cap slots are 56 full-time equivalents, and we fund 73 full-time equivalents in our relationship with UNR. So 17 of the current positions that we have go unfunded. As you may know, Renown Health affiliated with UNR Med as it relates to research, clinical practice, and medical education training back in 2021, and together we've been focused on how we grow our GME programs. With the building of the medical school at UNLV, which allowed UNR Med to focus all their GME efforts in the north, there are core residencies that need to be established to both support the medical school training and to establish training programs to ensure we have adequate supply of doctors in northern Nevada, such as OB, surgery, and pediatrics. While we have been able, we have great news, we have been able to get a pediatric residency accredited, and it will be starting in July 1st of 23. The program is only partially funded by community donors, since again, our program is capped. In the near term, we're also considering establishing an OB residency. Our initial estimates indicate the cost will be about $400,000 in startup funding and about $2.8 million annually once it's fully functioning. We will, to increase medical education at Renown and other programs across the state, we'll need additional funding. Again, we appreciate Senator Pezzina for bringing this important bill that will allow us to expand training programs, train more physicians, and retain more physicians. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Vanessa Dunn, V-A-N-E-S-S-A-D-U-N-N. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Public Health Association, also known as NPHA. NPHA is in support of SB 350. Thank you for your consideration of this bill.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Alejandro Rodriguez, Nevada System of Higher Education, and she is in strong support of SB 350. We'd like to thank Senator Pezzina for bringing forward this important measure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Don Daraloop and members of the committee. Dylan Keith with the Vegas Chamber. We'd like to thank Senator Pezzina for her work on this bill. This is one of the largest priorities of the Vegas Chamber, as we do rank near the bottom with doctors per capita. This is absolutely essential to retain the doctors that we are training, and we strongly ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no more in support in Carson City, we'll go to Las Vegas. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Senator Don Daraloop and members of Senate Finance. I'm Dr. Angelina Rodriguez, R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E-Z, the designated institutional official of HCA Healthcare Sunrise Health Graduate Medical Education Consortium here in Las Vegas. We are in full support of Senate Bill 350. We are excited about expanding our GME programs in Nevada, and we certainly look forward to continuing to work with Senator Pezzina and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Seeing no more in Las Vegas, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in support of SB 350, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 565, you are unmuted.
Hello, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sheila Bray with the University of Nevada, Reno. We'd like to thank Senator Pazina for bringing forth this bill and including so many stakeholders across our state in these discussions. As you've heard from Dean Kahn and many others today, Nevada is in great need for our medical professionals to grow and stay in Nevada. This bill will help in building and supporting graduate medical education residency programs and fellowships. We thank you again, Senator Pazina, and members of this committee for hearing this bill, and we urge your support.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Stephen Messenger, Messinger. I'm with the Nevada Primary Care Association, representing the state's federally qualified health centers. We hear from our members every day the troubles they have retaining and attracting qualified providers to their practices, and we support anything that would increase the number of providers in the state. I'd like to thank the sponsor of the bill and urge passage of SB 350. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, BPS, is that it on the lines?
Yes, that concludes all callers testifying in support.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to opposition. Anyone here in Carson City in opposition? Seeing none. Anyone in Las Vegas in opposition? Seeing none, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, anyone in opposition?
If you would like to testify in opposition for SB 350, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to neutral. Anyone here in Carson City? Anyone in Las Vegas? We'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready. Oh, sorry, sir. Please. Neutral, please.
Good morning. Daniel Marlowe, Administrator for Administrative Services Division, here on behalf of Director Mitchell for Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology. We had placed a fiscal note on this bill for the administration of this program, but based on the April 19th closing of the OSIP budget account, the Joint Money Committees approved management analyst for position that would accomplish this role. So we can remove that fiscal note at this time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. Seeing no neutral in Las Vegas, now we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 350, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 350, and we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 367. And Majority Leader, when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Good morning again. My name is Nicole Canizaro. I represent Senate District 6 in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley, and I'm pleased to be here with you this morning to present to you Senate Bill 367. Senate Bill 367, in its amended version out of the Senate Judiciary Committee, really does two different things. The first part of what this bill does is allow for charges for anyone who is a prohibited person in possession of a firearm, so someone who has been found to not legally be able to possess a firearm. Typically, what you may think of in that particular realm are felons, people who may have domestic violence convictions, individuals who may have restraining orders that would prevent them from possessing firearms. When they're in possession of a firearm, this would allow to charge for any firearm that they have. The reason for that is that currently we have an ambiguity in the way that the law was initially written that allows for just one charge. But if somebody may have 10 or 50 guns, that they are illegally possessing each and every one of them, we want to be able to charge them for all of those illegally possessed guns. That portion of this bill only relates to a fiscal note insofar as the Department of Corrections said that they weren't sure what the impact would be. I guess I've heard nothing about whether that would actually have a significant fiscal impact. My note to the committee would be that if you were being charged for possessing one firearm or you're charged with possessing 50 firearms, Department of Corrections would still have to identify you and process you, so it shouldn't have a fiscal impact from that portion of the bill. The other fiscal impact comes from the second portion of the bill, which you will see in sections 5 through 8.5, which deals with allowing for additional information to be accessible in compliance with federal law for background checks when it concerns certain juvenile offenders. I am joined this morning, Madam Chair, by Bridget Duffy from the Clark County District Attorney's Office Juvenile Division, and she can speak a bit more to the background check piece. What I would note is that we did receive an unsolicited fiscal note from DPS in the amount of $34,000 for system upgrade or improvement pieces in order to facilitate the background checks of that. I believe that in talking with fiscal staff, this is a very small amount of money, I would say, in comparison to other things in the budget that we have even been discussing this morning. But there are a number of contracts that are in place and money that is going towards system revitalization and revamping within CGIS and within NCGIS. So I think that this is something that either could be absorbed or is a very small amount of money just to allow for those technical changes. But with your permission, Madam Chair, I would turn it over to Ms. Duffy just to explain the background check piece very briefly, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions that you or the committee may have.
Thank you very much, Senator, and good morning, Ms. Duffy, and it's a pleasure to see you, and thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Chair Dondera Loop and members of the committee. I am Bridget Duffy, B-R-I-G-I-D-D-U-F-F-Y, Assistant District Attorney, Clark County District Attorney's Office for the Juvenile Division. I want to thank the Majority Leader for listening to me when I came to her with the issue. Around December of 2022, when the Federal Bipartisan Safer Communities Act went into effect, I started receiving fax information from the Department of Public Safety to obtain information on juvenile backgrounds for juveniles 18 to 21 who were applying to purchase a long rifle. So long rifles would, of course, include AR-15s. And these are children 18 to 21, or young adults 18 to 21. And the background checks that they wanted was information from the time they were ages 16 and 17, and if they had any disqualifying delinquent history or any involuntary mental health commitments. So our records after the 2021 session, our juvenile history records seal automatically for many offenses at the age of 18. So all of that information was not accessible to ensure that we were clearing backgrounds of young adults 18 to 21 to purchase and possess long rifles. So with that, and understanding that many of our mass casualty attacks by young adults, including Parkland and Uvalde and the Buffalo Supermarket, were young adults age 18 legally purchasing assault rifles that had cleared background checks, but who had histories of mental health or histories of delinquency, but were unable to be accessed at that time. So in order to make sure that we have responsible gun ownership at age 18 to 21 and that they are responsible to clear the same background checks as a 22-year-old and up, we needed to add some legislation in order to allow the unsealing of juvenile history for the purposes of obtaining 16 to 17-year-olds history and ensuring that our court system transmits any involuntary court orders of children age 16 to 17 who are involuntarily committed to a mental health facility to the central repository. And the fiscal note comes after conversations with community partners around children's mental health history that wanted to make sure that we removed that history from the central repository upon their obtaining the age of 21. So it's putting information in and then making sure we take it out at age 21, which is something that the central repository, in my conversations with DPS, we're not used to doing. In Clark County, that's an average of 7 children a year that are put in under our section. I believe it's 7.5. So 8.5 requires the court to send the orders over to the central repository, and 7.5 requires it to be removed upon 21. And in Clark County, that's about an average of 7 children a year over the past 5 years. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And with that, are there any questions, committee? Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm hearing this. I don't understand how the mental history is works for the bill. That's not a violation of HIPAA. In order for you to go and then get a 16-year-old's mental health information and then put it in a repository, like how do you obtain it?
Bridget Duffy for the record. Thank you, Senator Neal, for that question. The Federal Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022 specifically indicates that that is not a violation of HIPAA for that transmission of the mental health involuntary commitments for the purposes of background checks to possess a firearm. And in fact, we do it for adults as well, for those over the age of 22.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions from the committee? Senator Wynn.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy. Can I just confirm then that that is only for involuntary commitments? We're not talking about like truancies or other types of violations that are being provided and put into that repository from the ages of 16.
Bridget Duffy for the record. Senator Nguyen, that's correct. It has to be involuntary. In fact, the bill actually states that if they agree to go and seek mental health treatment on their own, that they would not be subject to having that sent to the central repository. This would only be if you are court ordered into a treatment facility for mental health involuntarily. And we do have very high due process protections for that. Everybody who goes up for a involuntary commitment has a right to an attorney. In our state, for children 16 to 17, most of those attorneys are coming from our legal aid services attorneys. And they go in front of a court and they have the right to first and second opinions and ultimately evidentiary hearings. So they are very strongly protected by due process, which is why I felt comfortable ensuring that we had these into the bill for the responsible background checks for 18 to 21-year-olds.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions from the committee? All right, with that, we will go to testimony in support. So if you are in support of Senate Bill 367, please come forward.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Jennifer Noble on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association. I will keep it short. We are in support of SB 367. It is good public policy. It is good for public safety. And we thank the Majority Leader for bringing this bill. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Don Loop and the Senate Finance Committee. My name is Chris Reese. It's R-I-E-S, and I represent the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I'll echo Ms. Noble's comments. Certainly want to thank the Majority Leader Cannizzaro and DA Duffy for their presentation and their tireless work on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support here in Carson City? Seeing none, I'll go to Las Vegas. Anybody in Las Vegas? Anybody on the phone lines, BPS?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 367, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in support at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to opposition. Anyone here in Carson City? Anyone in Las Vegas in opposition? Anyone on the phone lines in opposition, please? BPS, go ahead when you're ready.
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 367, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in opposition at this time.
Thank you very much, and we'll go to neutral. Here in Carson City, Las Vegas, and on the phone lines, please. BPS, go ahead when you're ready.
If you'd like to testify in neutral for SB 367, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Any closing remarks, Senator? All right, with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 367, and I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 425, and I will turn the gavel over to my Vice Chair for her to do that while I join you in a different position. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Madam Chair. Our hearing on Senate Bill 425 is open, and you may proceed whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. I'm Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record, representing Senate District 8 in Clark County. I am excited to be here today to present Senate Bill 425, which establishes the Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education to develop a statewide vision and implementation plan to improve Nevada's public education system. I am going to give you some background information, and you also have some PowerPoints available in your, on your desk with additional information. I had the distinct pleasure to serve as a member of the 2021 Legislative International Education Study Group, a bipartisan group of 20 legislators and legislative staff from across the country. This group studied the highest performing education systems in an effort to take lessons from those education systems and apply what we have learned to improve our state education systems. Looking at the specifics of the bill before you today, Senate Bill 425 creates the Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education to develop a statewide vision and implementation plan to improve Nevada's education system. 24 members would serve on the commission as outlined in Section 3, including 3 senators and 3 assembly members. Additionally, 425 requires the Commission to conduct a study comparing Nevada's education policies to those of high-performing international and domestic education systems, making recommendations on how to adapt the education policies of high-performing education systems into Nevada's system, making recommendations on improving student performance in Nevada to those of high-performing systems, incorporating any relevant findings of previous or ongoing studies related to education funding, and developing an implementation plan for the recommendations made, including an analysis of the costs involved. Section 5 and 6 appropriate funds to travel of $12,500 each year of the biennium and $250,000 to allow the Commission to enter into a contract with an organization to support the Commission's work. So, Madam Chair, this particular committee, I think it's time for us to analyze and support what we have done all over the world, and it was very interesting for me to be involved in this group. And I found some really amazing pieces of work. And so with that, I would be ready for questions if there are any, and thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the presentation. At this point, members of the committee, do you have any questions? And I am not seeing any questions, so thank you for the presentation. We will move on to testimony here in Carson City in support of Senate Bill 425. And if you are down in Las Vegas and would like to give testimony in support of Senate Bill 425, you can take one of those two chairs in the front and we'll come to you next. Ms. Rourke, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Nicole Rourke, representing the city of Henderson. You know, over the years, we've often talked about what other systems do, but I like this bill. Our city likes this bill because it's going to compare it to what we do in a deep dive, and we also appreciate the inclusion of cities in the commission. We're very interested in the education of our youngest residents, and so we appreciate this body considering this bill. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I am not seeing anyone else here in Carson City come in support, and no one in Las Vegas, so let's move to the phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone in support of Senate Bill 425?
If you'd like to testify in support of SB 425, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in support at this time.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 425? Not seeing anybody. In Las Vegas, anyone in opposition to Senate Bill 425? Not seeing any. We'll move to the phone lines. BPS, anyone on the phone lines wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 425?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 425, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chris Daly, Nevada State Education Association. We have been seeking an amendment related to the appointment process and composition of the commission. So that ended us up at the opposed table in the policy committee. We do not have an issue with the fiscal impact. Thank you very much.
That concludes all callers testifying in opposition.
Great, thank you so much. We will move finally to neutral. Anyone in the neutral position in Carson City on Senate Bill 425? Seeing none. Anyone in the neutral position in Las Vegas on Senate Bill 425? Got excited there for a moment. Anyone on the phone lines in the neutral position on Senate Bill 425?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 425, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. We have no callers testifying in the neutral.
Great, thank you so much. With that, we will close testimony on Senate Bill 425 and invite you, Madam Chair, if you would like to give any closing remarks on Senate Bill 425. You may begin when you are ready.
Just to thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and to clarify that we have not been contacted or spoken to anybody about any amendments. So I appreciate your time today, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And thank you, members of the committee. We will close our hearing on Senate Bill 425, and I'm going to turn the gavel back over to the chair.
All right, thank you very much. And we will move to Senate Bill 450, and we'll call Senator Neal to the table. And please go ahead, Senator Neal, when you are ready.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chair. If you would give me indulgence, this is not more than 10 minutes. I just wanted to lay the foundation for why 450 is here. I'm here presenting for the financial piece of the Windsor Park Environmental Justice Act. And so I just wanted to share this video on why this is necessary to do now. I know one member on this committee has seen it because she's on Senate Revenue with me. However, I want to use this as my testimony, and then I'll explain the amendment, if that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Everybody knew who grew up over here about Windsor Park. It just became a neighborhood that was just kind of dying out. But I just knew that if it had been another community and they had not been Black, they would have fixed those houses. The fact that they've been left to just die out rather than someone stepping in to help them.
It's just not right. I'm important. We're important. We paid our fair share. We paid our taxes. And we deserve to be treated better.
Fix up Windsor Park. Clean up these vacant lots that the city owns. Make it look like a little.
I'll be my own engineer today.
Community.
I wasn't thinking about it in terms of a justice issue. I was just thinking, why do they live in this house? And it's like a dead zone.
It's a very interesting story. Windsor Park was built in the early 1960s when segregation had not ended in southern Nevada.
No one should have to live as they've lived over the past few decades, and I hope we can find a solution for them.
The residents of Windsor Park all came here for the same reasons. For a future, their future, one they could build with their own hands. Yet below all the glittering lights, revolutionary singers, and high rollers, Las Vegas was just another city in America plagued with systemic racism.
And you're talking about the 1960s? It was almost completely segregated. African Americans at the time worked in the back of the house of casinos, doing maid work, porter's work, linen rooms, that kind of work. The dirtiest jobs went to African Americans, but they were jobs.
Subpar jobs also led to subpar housing options for African Americans.
So redlining is a practice that banks and lending institutions actually draw a red line around communities in a city that they don't want to loan money into. The West Side community, and I named the community because at that time that's the only place that African Americans could actually live here in the city.
Windsor Park was one of the first all-Black housing communities built on the historic west side of North Las Vegas. It was an important step in giving African Americans a place in society.
Homes are the way that you get established. It is the way you build wealth. It is the way you create community. Home ownership is the underlying stabilizing force in our country. They tell everybody to become a homeowner. That is the American way.
My name is Annie L. Walker, and I'm a resident of Windsor Park. I've been living in Windsor Park for 50 plus years.
My name is Nancy Johnson, and I'm 65 years old, and I moved here in 1976. My daughter was around 2 months old when I moved here, and I was very excited with a new home, with a new baby.
My dad was stationed at Nellis, and things were a little rough in my marriage, and so he came and got me and three of my older children, and we have been here ever since and have multiplied since then.
Oh, the neighborhood was fantastic. It was really nice. Everybody was so friendly. We all had Easter egg hunts with all the children. They would ride up and down the street with bicycles.
Then, 20 years later, something strange happened.
It's called subsidence. The houses were built in an area where there are geological faults. So imagine the ground has cracks in it, a fault. When the groundwater is drawn out, the ground sinks, but near the faults, parts of the ground sink more than other parts. So if your house is on top or near one of those cracks, your house cracks, pipes crack, roads crack. So it became very apparent to people who lived in Windsor Park in the 1980s, and they approached the city of North Las Vegas and said, our houses are cracking, we have cracks in the road, what can you do for us?
The Department of Housing and Urban Development conducted a study and estimated that between $12 and $14 million was needed to relocate the residents. But in 1991, the money for Windsor Park was reduced from $12 million to $5 million, with officials believing that this amount, quote, would allow Windsor Park families to reestablish their living conditions to the standard that once existed in Windsor Park, unquote. As of 2021, this has not been proven true. The battle over Windsor Park stretched out over 3 phases.
I came here about 4 years ago, and I never knew nothing about them vacant lots till later. Or she started telling me about, well, these used to be houses.
I stayed here because I didn't want to move. This is my home. I didn't want to start all over paying a mortgage. I had a little girl. The community was just dreaming about how it used to be when we first moved here. We were all happy until they started tearing down these homes.
The feelings of the residents began to change. Feelings of neglect, feelings of despair. But the 1991 resolution to stop them from building or repairing their homes didn't make them feel surprised in the least.
We used to go to council meetings, complain about different things, the sewage and everything else. And we're gonna fix it, you know, it's always an excuse.
The city can help us if they choose to help us. They weren't supposed to tear down the homes in the first place. They were supposed to move the people out, fix up the property, and move them back in.
We want Windsor Park to be built up like it was 40 years ago. When my fiance first moved here. Like she said, Windsor Park was very nice.
You know how I come to the conclusion they said all of that to shut my mouth up. That's the way I took it, because they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything.
The situation came to a roadblock. No progress was made, and people were just sort of left in their houses, and I think they feel as if they've been abandoned.
Even after decades of unfair treatment by their government and by officials, the residents of Windsor Park continue to fight. Because a home is worth protecting.
I'm Senator Dina Neal. I grew up in North Las Vegas. I've lived in North Las Vegas my whole entire life. I got involved in politics because my dad was in politics. He was in the state senate for 32 years. And I learned about Windsor Park through him. I remember my friend that lived down the way. Their whole front of the house started to sink, and the sidewalk in front completely became cracked. If you didn't know Windsor and you came over here, you'd be like, who stays over here? And how can you even possibly live here? There's like this house, vacant lot, vacant lot, vacant lot. This house looks like it's getting ready to fall apart. How did they even get to the state and condition? And why would a government leave them in that condition? It then begs the question for you to say, well, who has the responsibility to fix it? They did. If you listen to the city of North Las Vegas, they didn't want to pay for it. They didn't want to pay to fix it. These residents were too expensive for them. And in my mind, I was just like, justice is not expensive. Because if it was somebody else, you would have done right by them, but for some reason, you don't have any interest in doing right by these families. The Windsor Park residents, we were on the same page in that I really wanted to fight for them, but knowing the city and their behavior and how they just kind of responded to them, and I felt like they were disrespected, I needed someone else.
First met her at the law school, she had a stack of papers, I'd say about a foot high, detailing, again, the results of her research about Windsor Park. She wanted the law school to help tell the story of the residents and to see if we could find, either a legal or business remedy for them. In my perfect world, what I hope happens for the residents of Windsor Park is that we can find a developer who's interested in the commercial opportunities that are nearby. So a developer that can take advantage of an opportunity zone might also then be able to provide residential benefits for the residents in terms of either new homes or helping to rehabilitate the existing homes.
If we can lift it up in the national space and get attention, I think we can get other bedfellows to jump in this fight with us and talk about why would you leave this community in this condition for this long and not say a word.
I love my community. I love my neighbors. My prayer that night is for my whole entire Windsor Park. It was founded on good intention, and it was to help people, give them an opportunity to own their own home. So our last days could be good days, to just enjoy and not be burdened because of the city of North Las Vegas.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging me with that video. I figured that that was the best way to tell the testimony of 30 years. I do have an amendment to this bill. So what happens for the Windsor Park Environmental Justice Act, I have changed the appropriation in the bill. The original bill had $10 million from the state. That is now adjusted to $12 million. And it had $20 million from the city of North Las Vegas. So the adjustment is now $25 million in coronavirus funds, and then the $12 million that is coming from the general fund will then have to be paid back by the city of North Las Vegas from their tax distribution over 3 years, making that payments back to the state from Department of Taxation would be in charge of basically withholding around $250,000 a month from their tax distribution until that amount is paid off. The reason why that amendment is there is because of, number one, the opposition to the measure, by the city of North Las Vegas. Number two, they said that they had a plan. We are not aware of a plan to help these residents. We weren't aware of a plan in 21. We weren't aware of a plan in 2019, and we're not aware of a plan in 2023. They mentioned they were going to go get federal funds, and they reached out to HUD. The timeline on that is, we don't know what the timeline on that is going to be, number one, and I don't think that these residents are in a position to wait. The amendment also speaks to trying to just deal with the permitting process and making sure that there isn't unreasonable withholding of access, so that when the developer has to come onto the property, because the idea of the relocation is to give these families the equivalent size home that they have right now. So they might have to cross parcels, that the vacant parcels which are owned by the city of North Las Vegas we wanted to make sure that the right-of-way was going to be given and access, because if a developer has to come on to a parcel that is now owned, because the houses that were prior owned by residents were then, now they own the parcels because of the relocation. Also, the amendment talks about the Fannie Mae dollar. So what we know that all in 1994 that you saw in the documentary, there was CBDG dollars and Fannie Mae dollars that were provided for the residents. We think that's around 14 million. From the CFO, there was testimony that there's roughly $2.5 million left. However, there is a Fannie Mae bond that was created in 1999 that was supposed to generate $300,000 a year for the Windsor Park residents, and it's only for Windsor Park residents. And so in that number 2, it states that the city has to create a program with the housing division to use the leftover Fannie Mae and CBDG dollars to give the $55,000 in rehabilitation. And that's not for the Windsor Park homes. These are for the homes that were put in after, and I'm going to show you these minutes right quick. These, and I need you, so this is 1993, so I can show you what happened. So the 45 homes that were built where it was supposed to be a remedy to allow the families who were a part of phase 2 to then relocate to homes that were built up the road, those homes were built with problems. And so I had loaded minutes in Senate Revenue where I put in, you know, the actual resident with their name, their address, saying that the homes that were built and situated on the lot, they were facing, so their doors face each other like this. So in a normal situation, your doors face the street, right, in a regular home. When you go to these homes, you walk out of your front door, your neighbor walks out of their front door, and the houses face each other this way. And it is cited in this record where Miss Hattie complained about her Hampton home that had been built by DASCO, which was a part of the federal money, and how they went to the city requesting assistance on the design, and they told them about the setback. Then there were also residents that came talking about that their paint was peeling in less than 2 years on the property, that their tub paint was peeling. They had foundation problems. There was an agreement that the families, or some of the families, would be hired. And so I wanted to make sure that those residents also would have a remedy, because since 1993, they were pretty much left in their current condition outside of the Windsor Park residents. And because of the Fannie Mae bond that is still in play from what we've seen from the recent budget documents, this is already accrued money that would not come from the state. This is money that they hold. But I just wanted to clarify and mandate the use. The next part of the amendment basically says that if there's any remaining Fannie Mae dollars, Fannie Mae bond dollars, that would be used for moving expenses for the residents. And then the rest amends the Section 9 on the provision on how the 12 million would work. It strikes any references, number 5 strikes any references to 20 million. Number 6 talks about how the land in which it is the conveyance of the land, I'm just reiterating that the past and present residents, that the park space in which we are determining that the residents want, that the city actually work with the housing division in order to turn that into a park space. And the reason why that park space can exist and why I know that park space can exist is because there was a May 2019 environmental study done by the city that we became aware of while Boyd Law and myself were working on this documentary, and we found out that they had did an environmental and biological study to determine that park space could exist. And at that time, the residents didn't know that the city of North Las Vegas was going to they were going to remove a portion of City View Park, and in the 1967 federal law said that if you remove anything from a federal designated park, you have to replace it. And so they were going to replace a portion of what they took from City View with the Windsor Park land, and ultimately the vacant parcels that they had. So they did an appraisal on the property, and they also did the study. And so because of that, we believe that, number one, there should be no opposition to creating that. Number two, in prior budgets, publicly adopted budgets going back 8 years, I found that the park conversation was not new to 2019. It actually had a series of years that it actually had been discussed by the city. And so I was absolutely clear that this is possible. And the reason why we want to do that and memorialize is because in the video you saw Greater Faith Church. The residents still go to that church. There is a Macedonia Church that's on Clayton. CVT Gilbert Magnet School is right there, literally on Cartier, a stone's throw away from the houses. And we wanted to make sure that the churches were protected, the school was protected, and that the children would have access to that park to try to keep this, try to memorialize those residents. And also Miss Annie Walker, who is 86 years old, who's in the video, she has determined that she may not want to move, and so we also want to protect her because she was one of the original residents, and her husband was a part of the Greater Faith Church, and there is a park called Prentice Walker Church right next to Greater Faith Church, and that was her husband. And so she has very different sentimental value that is attached to the property. And so to safeguard her and to prevent the city from coming in and potentially trying to move her out, we just wanted to protect it. And then the rest of the bill just explains the engineering study that we need to do on the new land. And with that, I will open myself up for questions.
Thank you very much, Senator. And I believe Senator Gansert has questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Neal, for bringing this forth. And I've heard a lot about Windsor Park because I sit on the Revenue Committee. So I wanted to ask you some things about the conceptual amendment. So in number one, you talk about relocation, but then you talk about the measure to accurately rebuild the equivalent home. I don't know if you're trying to move them or rebuild a home.
So we're relocating them. I know that's worded weird, but we're rebuilding in a different place. It's not going to rebuild on the Windsor Park land.
No, I don't mean that. So are you trying to actually move the homes or build an equivalent home?
Oh, no, we're not moving their home. Okay. We're going to rebuild.
So you're relocating the people, not the homes.
Correct.
All right. And then, just some thoughts about that. So are you trying to relocate owner-occupied homes? Because I know there's some corporations who've bought some homes and they're leasing those out. So what are you going to do with ones that are not owner-occupied?
So there's a mix. So majority, and I've looked at the assessor records on this, so majority of the homes are either owned by, so they're renters, but the renters are connected to a prior Windsor Park resident, meaning their nephew or their cousin or their grandchildren are living in the properties. And so that is dealt with in the original bill. So I didn't reestablish that because it's dealt in the original bill, that we will create a mixed remedy with the housing division in order to allow that homeowner who happens to be a Windsor Park original to then replace that home and then continue their lease for that renter in a new place. The homeowners that have a mortgage, so according to the assessor records, there are 38 mortgages, And we have to create a special remedy within the housing division on the 38 mortgages, because basically we're not going to totally extinguish that. What we're going to do is create a special program and recreate that mortgage on a new property. We've seen that happen before. It just has to have special rules to basically, they would then have a mortgage that's attached to the new property, and so we'll work that out with the housing division, but I've seen it done before. And then the homeowners that do not have a mortgage would then be just moved with no mortgage and basically an equivalent new home that they would receive.
Okay, and then, once they relocate to a new home, are they required to stay there for a certain period of time?
So I didn't spell that out, but there'll probably be like an affordability period on the mortgaged homes. And then for the Windsor Park homes, the original folks, I know that majority of them don't intend to sell or move or go anywhere else, but we'll deal with that on the back end and the RFP piece. But if I need to spell that out, that's fine, because in the prior move under the city of North Las Vegas with the CBDG dollars, they had an affordability period that came with the $50,000 that they received, and it had a provision in there that they couldn't pass down to their descendants. And so we want to avoid that problem that happened, because it caused them not to be able to pass the property down, and so we want to avoid that.
So I think that makes sense that they can pass it down, but I guess the question is more about turning it over and selling it for profit after they.
So we'll put the restriction on there. Okay. I believe that majority of the original residents, they're considering this a new start and a new ability to pass down wealth and property down to their family that they can't do currently because that their homes were redlined, and so we can make that caveat.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one more question. Will they have the ability to add funds so that the house won't be necessarily the equivalent, but they could upgrade the house or make it a little bit bigger? Because I know these are really tiny houses.
So that would be dependent upon the funds. We have a finite amount of funds.
Excuse me. So I would add, so that they pay the difference. So say they want to add another room, could they pay $25,000 towards the addition of a room if they had room to the ability to do that on the parcel?
Senator Neal, for the record, that would be up to them. I doubt if these families have $25,000 sitting anywhere in order to make that change. But what we're going to try to do is, based on any improvements that they have, because a lot of the families did improvements on their homes, which would now be considered illegal improvements because they were redlined. You saw that there was an ordinance, 1606, that basically was passed that said you could do nothing, you couldn't do a brick wall. But we know that some of the families built carports. They went ahead and did the brick wall, and then may have done some flooring on top of the bubbling up in their house. And so we want to allow what they did to try to make their home not look horrible in the inside. We want to try to allow them to keep those improvements. So, and that's why we have to go and be able to cross the land and document each home, because we also have some original homes that were built in 1965 that are two-story, and in a cul-de-sac, they were actually considered the models. And believe it or not, the models are still standing, and they have improvements where they actually have stairs and potentially like a little suite. And so we want to make sure that those families get exactly what they had. And so I will, I just expect that to be, in the developer agreement, although I'm prescribing a lot of things in law because I don't want any mistakes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Neal, thank you for being passionate about your constituents. And I always appreciate your advocacy. I haven't heard this before, and so I do have some questions, and they really are about the fiscal nature of this. So how, were this area was, in my mind, in a segregated area, where the lots are bigger than currently the lots are in Las Vegas. Is that correct? I mean, zoning, I just need to wrap my brain around the size of this.
So the actual lot size from the minutes, it's about 6,000 square feet. Is it? I don't know how to say that. It's about 6,000 square foot lot. So that includes the front and the backyard, right? Because you had a smaller house, but you had more yard. And so that's what I've seen from the state legislative minutes from 1989.
How many original homes were there?
Believe 242.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not an environmental issue. There's no contamination. There's no chemical in these lots. Simply the ground shifted and moved because of apparently water pumping, but the ground is still good.
So, Senator Neal, for the record, that is up for debate and discussion. So the last geotechnical study was in 2014. The ground removal was significant enough that because of the fault lines, it caused the foundations to crack, right? So, and it was a series of years, 20 years, and there was new information that came out after I did this documentary that the pumping then continued at 2011 to continue to remove the groundwater, which caused the further exacerbation of the properties. So there was a point in this process where there was a remedy in the late 90s where they started to do a recharge. And so according to the information, the recharge lifted the properties by about an inch. And then when they realized that Lake Mead needed the water, they stopped the recharge and then continued to pump out, which further exacerbated the fault lines that happened to be underneath. Why this is a strange and precarious situation is because when these homeowners bought this property, there was no engineering study. So no one knew that these were built on fault lines. Although we had 1954 Fair Housing Act, I also have minutes from 1966 that show that the city of North Las Vegas was put on notice that they needed to make sure that any homes that were built in minority communities or African American communities, that they had to go through a series of questions and checks, and then the homes were built in 1967. And so the city has never agreed that there could be rebuilt. They said that it was a construction defect issue in order to allow the homes to be built, although the homes have been sold to new residents. So I don't think we can build there, and the reason why I came with this remedy is because I didn't feel I had 5 years.
Yeah. May I continue, Madam Chair? Again, thank you for that. You're not looking at creating another area of segregation, are you? However, you're not moving them en masse to another location as opposed to just offering them financial ability to move to wherever they choose to move. I mean, so these homes that they may potentially move to would be scattered throughout the Las Vegas Valley, or maybe they move to a whole nother state. So I was just wondering what the thought process is that.
Thank you for the question, Senator Titus. Dina Neal, for the record, no. The original bill, and this is still intact, is moving them as a census group and a census community. Why? The residents are a community. The last 90 are only there because of what happened with the 45 homes, and they did not want to move because of what they felt was the substandard option of the 45 homes that was built in 94. They will move as a community. We know that we'll have to go and get private land, but in order, that gives them comfort and peace that they will remain together. This community still, even in what you've seen in the video, they text each other, they check on each other when they're sick, they bring coffee, they go and make sure that everyone is okay, and it's very important for them that they continue and remain a community. And so we're not scattering them. That's what happened with the initial move, was that they were scattered around the city, except for the 45 homes which are up the road, which we call, the colloquialism is Baby Windsor. These families will be moved together.
Last question specific to the page on the bill that I don't see, if it's okay, Madam Chair. So on section 9, I believe, and then if you look at subsection 5 on that line 26, and I don't see that it's been amended, although you did amend part of section 9 on subsection 4, but in that one, it talks about the mortgage or deed of trust, and I'm wondering about other things. What if they have other liens against that? What if they have like a medical lien or some other property tax liens? We're gonna cover it. This will cover that also.
Dina Neal, for the record, that is the plan. That is the plan. And there's also, we know, whatever is left over from the 2.5 million from the original, we're going to use that. That the city has, and we're also going to use or apply anything that's from that Fannie Mae bond that is generating money. And so the idea is that if there's any liens, because what we found out in revenue, and I don't think this is legal, that they were using some of the Fannie Mae federal dollars in order to pay off tax delinquent liens on the property. That's subject to, I don't know what HUD rule, but that was mentioned, that was occurring. I did pull the assessor records. I do have the records where it looks like a homeowners had lost their property to a tax delinquent lien to the county treasurer, and that the city of North Las Vegas then came in and bought that property for $26,000, and we're not clear on exactly what happened to the resident who was removed from the property for failure to pay their tax lien. All I see is that the new owner of these lot, or it's about 3 or 4 lots, was that a tax lien was then instituted, and then $26,000 was paid in several instances, maybe $23,000, where now the city is in ownership. And according to the testimony, and they can come up and refute this, that they use the CBD dollars in order to pay those tax liens.
Last question, I promise, Madam Chair. And it's brought up by one of your answers about this community wants to move together to stay a community. It's my understanding that some of these houses have actually been sold and now are being rented, and that there's a mix of folks who live there, of different colors and different backgrounds. And so what about the people that are renting? So how's all that going to play out? And I'm sorry if you've said that, because
No,
some of
it's
these
fine.
are corporate, so I don't know if they're corporations, but some certainly have been sold and are now being rented, and I'm just wondering how that plays into this mix.
So, Senator Dina Neal, for the record, it's interesting because the complexity of the problem was the same complexity that existed in 1989 and 1994. The reason why I know this is because I have extensive minutes over 50 years, from the city council minutes to the state legislature to congressional minutes related to Windsor Park. So this mixture has always been there. What we know and understand are the mortgage owners that happen to be Latino owned, who purchase homes within, we've learned in testimony the past, there was I think the oldest was 15 years ago, the most recent was 2019. Those would still fall into the mortgage remedy that we intend on creating through the housing division, which would be a special piece. If they are currently a renter, meaning there is an original owner, non-corporate, because that is who we want to deal with, and from all of the assessor records, because I pulled the assessor records before I had this bill in the summer, right? So I could understand exactly what we were walking into, how we were walking into it. And from talking to the residents, majority of them own it and rent to someone else. So that renter, we're not going to eliminate their lease. What we're saying is that original Windsor Park homeowner, we're going to rebuild this house, and you have to keep their lease intact in that new property. And then after it is, I guess, it ceases or expires, then that homeowner has the choice to either, extend that lease or do whatever they're going to do. And that's in the original bill, is there is no goal to displace a renter. There is a goal to move that renter with that original homeowner still owning that property and continuing that lease if that lease is within that time period. And I think I tried to put language in here that if we fell outside of in the process of building and there was some lease constraint or issue, that they would still be allowed to continue that lease, because we don't want to displace a renter while we're doing this relocation phase.
So Senator Neal, I just want to thank you, and also I want to reiterate my request that I made to you before, that when I'm in Las Vegas again, I would be honored if you give me a tour of this area. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Gocochea.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm thoroughly confused, and I don't know anything about the area at all. I just running some numbers. You talk about a 6,000 square foot lot. You put streets and sidewalks through that. So we're talking about an area of 40 to 45 acres, I assume?
So it's probably about 20 acres.
It's what?
20 acres.
Oh, it's smaller than I anticipated. So at 8,000 square foot for a lot, you'd end up with
6,000
the
square foot
242 homes. Okay.
Well, no, it's 90 homes.
Okay, but there was 242 originally built?
Yes, but those are no longer, there are only 90
left.
homes left in this neighborhood.
Okay, so then the other 300 plus,
have already
they've been remediated.
in the early
That's all
90s.
taken care of.
Yes.
We're just dealing with 90 homes.
That's right.
Okay, and they're going to be completely relocated out of the area.
That's right.
Yeah, because that clearly makes sense. Subsidence is a tough thing, and once it starts, you don't pump that aquifer back up, and it never is stabilized. So, okay, then the area that'll be left, which is approximately 20 acres, will be turned into a city park.
That is the plan, memorializing the residents.
Okay. Now, so we have relocated a significant number of them, and that was paid for then in the original process between the late 80s and the 90s, where they took the 100,000 or 50,000 and relocated.
So, Dean and Neal, for the record, so there was a mix, right? So the state in 89 gave money. The state gave, it was 250,000. 1989, they gave another set of 250,000. No, it was 500K in 92. Then there was another ask to basically what happened with, I believe it was the 250K or the 500K. The city leveraged that to do a matching CBDG grant,
okay.
Right? Then in 94, they went to Congress and they got money. And that was about 6.75 million spread over a period of time. I have all the minutes that represent that is in your exhibits. Then there was a 1999, there then was Fannie Mae came in, and there was a $4 million general obligation bond that was created, and it was in 1998. And then in 1999, of February 1999, Fannie Mae came in and purchased it. And they purchased that $4 million general obligation bond by the city. And the plan was to keep them from going back to Congress, so they would have a bond that would generate money annually for the Windsor Park residents. From the minutes, it says that $300,000 was supposed to be generated every year for the residents. We know that the last move associated with the families was around 2004. And we believe that 1998 bond is still in effect because it is still cited to in a 2023 budget, a 2022 budget, and then so on and so forth, because I've pulled 8 years. You can only find back to 2014 on the website.
Then, if I may, just a quick follow-up, and I'm trying to be brief. Then this appropriation from the state, are we in fact then, do we intend to take it, or why aren't we leveraging it and matching it against, again, in the same federal program? I don't know how much the state put in. It didn't sound like a whole lot in the first round, maybe 750,000, 500 and 250, I heard you say. There's probably more, but anyway, we've got an appropriation and we're asking for from the state. Are we going to take that and then actually leverage it against federal dollars to accomplish this, or is that a possibility?
So, Dean and Neal, for the record, it could be a possibility. I just don't know what the timeline is on that. I know that when Congressman Horsford was here for his State of Congress, like a couple weeks, week and a half ago, he said that there was a potential grant that the Housing Division can apply for, but it's only $4 million that we could potentially draw down in order to help this problem. I haven't received that information yet. I did let Director Reynolds know that that's what he said and that we should reach out and find out what that means. But here's and that's why I have the $12 million in here as what the city would have to pay back to the state, because I do feel like the responsibility really is the city's, but I don't think we have time to wait. Most of the residents are either 60, 70, or 80. I don't want to run the risk of another resident passing away. And so that's why I brought this bill, right? Because in 2019, 2020, 2021, Boyd Law, along with Professor Fritz and Dean, Associate Dean Nagai Pendel, we tried to find developers who would come in and maybe help. But it could never happen because the city was like, well, you can't build here, number one. There was never a proposal of a plan. There's been a lot of, I would say, recharacterizations. And even now, there's a city council person alleging that the residents are just holding out and trying to bribe the city for a brand new house. And it's disturbing because they live in squalor. And when they decided to get their home, no one told them that they were going to have a home built on a fault line. They were also, when this happened in 1989, and these are in your minutes, in the exhibits, their homeowner insurance was canceled arbitrarily for all the homes. So they had no remedy. There was nothing that could be done by them. And then they were then redlined. And there is a person who is out there saying they don't believe that they were redlined. And I'm like, well, it's written in the state legislative minutes, and it was stated by their own city representative in 1989. So if their city representative lied in 1989, you take it up with them if they're still living. But I'm only acting on the facts and what was presented as a historical and legislative record in this body, and then recapturing that so I could understand the story and understand what happened to them. And so I don't think this is complex. I think this required political will, right? And the only reason why the residents are willing to move now while they held out is, in all honesty, what they told me was that they absolutely trust me. Hands down, they absolutely trust me, and they trust that I would never do anything to hurt them.
I really appreciate that, and I would want you in my corner as well, there's no doubt. I guess, we're out here, 60 years out from when this project started. It made it tough. I guess the culpability lies with the city because of the fact that they didn't do the proper, research or planning when they selected the site to build the original 242 homes. I guess that's why everyone feels, hey, you guys missed this. I can understand. I know there are lots of areas in the Las Vegas Valley that have dropped 20 feet due to subsidence. So it's just really unfortunate that it appears in this community, and again, I'm not familiar with it at all, that the subsidence was severe enough, it destroyed these homes. And, you know, and here we are 60 years later trying to figure out, and I hear you, trying to make it right. And what we're really looking at is whose fault and who's going to pay for it, how we get there. And I'll work with you trying to figure out, but I would hope that, again, it started as a federal project. They've intervened, the state's intervened, but we need to fix it. I'm with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Additional questions from the committee? Senator Neal, I just have a question because I'm trying to understand everything, and I hear everything you have said. We've had many conversations. On your conceptual amendment, on number 4, which amends section 9, subsection 4A, could you just explain to me, like, when the city must pay back the $12 million to the state for the relocation of the Windsor Park residents out of their monthly tax distribution by the Department of Taxation, do we know, like, how much that might be and how that might work?
Yes, Senator Neal, for the record, it amounts to $250K every month by when you divide that out, and they have a tax distribution that is paid out to them from the Department of Taxation, and the idea is that the Department of Taxation would then withhold $250,000 over a period until it was paid off. And so we believe that that period could be 2 years up to 3 years of withholding $250,000 until the $12 million is paid back to the state. So when I talked to Fernley and Fiscal, they were like, just write it out as conceptual, and then we'll be able to figure it out on the back end. But we did talk about what that amount would be and how it would happen. So it would be a withholding.
So you're thinking 2 to 3 years, though?
Yeah, and I was thinking probably to spread it to 3, but yes.
Okay. All right.
Which might lower it.
Sure.
So it would lower that from the 250. If I spread it to 3, it would lower that 250 to a lower amount, probably around 175.
Okay, thank you very much. And then I just have one other question. As I'm looking through all this information that we have here from 30 years ago, right? I see so many names, and that we all know, right? And I'm just, has this been, I don't mean your exact idea, but has this been tried and failed? Has this been, I'm frustrated because I'm like, all these people, we went along, and we never did anything. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around kind of, not the whole presentation again, but like kind of what happened.
Thank you for the question, Chair. I think the failure was the ones who've moved away, they feel like some were forced out. The ones who were in the 45 homes that I put in the record, I think that was a failure. I have the records on Dasco, who was a construction company who was hired in order to build these homes, and I don't think they were properly built. I think they were inferior. There was then a continuation of the residents, the last 90, who fought and didn't want to move because they didn't want an inferior home. I think that Councilman Theron Goings tried really, really hard. He went to Congress. He did the work, and I want to honor that work. But somewhere in the middle, something just happened and fell away. Now, mind you, he lost his election to William Robinson. And then William Robinson was there in '99, basically saying you can't live here, you need to leave. But the residents were like, I don't want to leave, because of what happened with the 45 homes. And I think that there was just a period of time where it just ceased to be a conversation.
All right, thank you. And that just helps because as you and I, being residents and of Southern Nevada, you know, like I said, I recognize not only some of these official names, but I recognize some of the family names, right? Kids that went to the same high school with me, or that I knew because they were at some event, what have you. And so I was just struck by the fact that this has been going on for how long, and I don't want to say nobody did anything because we know things happen, just like you just said. But I'm just boggled. Thank you very much. I believe Senator Canizaro might have a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a comment. I actually, you know what is hard is that I just don't know that I have the right comments. You're talking about legislative minutes from 1989. I was 6. And here we are trying to fix this for people who've been in these homes. And I think your comment about somehow just trying to weasel something out of a legislative body or a city when they've lived in these homes that they're not able to upkeep, that are small, when they're elderly, and we're talking about, you know, them being there for so long. I want to just thank you for being a champion on this. I am hopeful that we are going to find a solution because I think we owe it to those families and to those folks. This to me is just wild, and I don't know that I have any other words for it. And I just wanted to say thank you for your work and just encourage that we may be able to find a way to help.
So, Senator, just maybe one last thing, and I'm just a little bit, not much, older than our majority leader, and so in 1989 I owned my own home, right? And so I'm looking at some of the minutes and some of the North Las Vegas information. And I believe that in the last month, the C-tax to North Las Vegas has been something like $6.5 million. Is that in February? I mean, like in 1 month, not in a year. Is that correct?
I believe it is around that number per month.
I wish I had something more profound to say. Thank you very much. And if you have any other items you need to say, go ahead. Otherwise, we will, when you're done, we'll close the hearing and we'll go to support.
I just want to say thank you for hearing this bill, Chair, and let's see what we can do for these families.
Thank you very much. All right, we will go to support here in Carson City. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairwoman Dondera Loop, Vice Chair Canizaro. Members of the committee, thank you for your time today. For the record, my name is Jared Luke. I am the Director of Government Affairs for the City of North Las Vegas. First, I really want to thank Senator Neal for bringing this measure forward. There's been significant conversation about the issues and who is responsible. I'm not going to defend what the city did or did not do prior to 2013, 2014. Remember, I'm part of the team that was brought in to help fix the problems of the past. As you all know, the city was nearly bankrupt. Its bond rating was 5 grades below junk bond status. We had a $152 million structural deficit, active lawsuits with all unions, $41 million court judgment against the city, and layoffs of over 1/3 of its workforce. As you can see, though, we have never run from the problems we inherited, and that includes Windsor Park. Our strategic, thoughtful, and innovative approaches transformed and revitalized the city, so much so that the city of North Las Vegas has become a national model for good government and sound municipal practices. We previously testified in opposition to this bill because it is not financially prudent to use state and local dollars for a program previously funded almost entirely by the federal government. As you all know, Nevada consistently ranks last in the nation at getting its fair share of federal tax dollars. Over the last year, Mayor Goins-Brown has been actively working to get more funds from the federal government. We strongly believe that state and local officials should work together to get more federal dollars to fund the existing program that has successfully relocated the majority of the residents out of Windsor Park. We have been trying to meet with Senator Neal on this bill because we think there are several areas that are concerning, but she has not met with us. Her office did reach out to the mayor yesterday for a meeting. However, the suggested time conflicted with the previously scheduled trip to Washington, D.C., where the mayor is in meetings today on funding for Windsor Park. So let me make this very simple. We completely agree that Windsor Park needs to be addressed. We want to support this bill, but it's now difficult even to know what we're supporting. Until this morning, we were unaware of any amendment to the language. The bill continues to change, and now we're hearing that no real plan has been put together. While we hope we are wrong, we worry that this bill, as currently written, will not solve the residents' issues. Our opposition was on funding, and we are prepared to support, but are hearing about this amendment today for the first time. And it does create a little more confusion on what it is that we're doing or agreeing to or supporting. That being said, provided the city does not have to enter into a financing agreement, we are willing to provide the funds so the state can help the residents. We do wish Senator Neal luck and hope that her new state plan works for the residents. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Luke, thank you very much. It's difficult for me, frankly, to understand if you're supporting or you're not supporting with some of those comments. And I would also say that, most of us as legislators are not sitting in our office waiting for somebody to show up. I myself saw your name on my list. I wasn't ignoring you, but I literally am on roller skates most days and left last night at 6:30 and the night before at 10. So to insinuate that someone hasn't met with you in public comment to a legislator when we are here for 120 days, working weekends sometimes, is a little hard for me to hear. So I would just say, if you're in support, you're in support, and if you're not in support, you're not in support, and then you get to be neutral. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Don Daraloop, for that comment, as well as Senator Neal, I believe, is someone that has done so much work to do the right thing. And I am here.
Can you say your name for the record?
Hannah, H-A-N-A, Fahmy, F as in Frank, A-H-M-I. I'm here in support. Senator Neal is a human in this place that is an inspiration. She went and did the work. I believe that there's a lot of discrepancies in the United States. But she she presented the data. She gave us everything. And for these people to move at 60 and 70 and 80 is not easy. That's not a fun move. But because they trust her, they're willing to do this. And I believe that the city is fully at fault for a lot of the things that happened. They would have been moved if they were in a different place. And because they are black and because they were redlined, they didn't get that opportunity. And it's so sad to be this far along and to be dealing with this. My heart goes out for all the residents at Windsor, and I make it a bucket list to visit them wherever they may be here in the next future. But I appreciate Dina Neal so much, and I will be in this political game probably because of her, and seeing that you can make a difference if you put the work in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional support? Seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Any support in Las Vegas? Please go ahead and state your name for the record, please.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. My name is Barbara Carter, Carter, and I am a resident of Windsor Park, and I am in support of Senate Bill 450. I would just like to make a comment. My husband and I purchased our home 1966, one of the original residents of Windsor Park. And at my age, it is not easy to think about have to gather your belongings and move. I mean, whether they take my house or give me another house, it's not easy to think about moving. But the idea, as you all have already said, is when you purchase a home, you look forward to handing it down to your children, grandchildren. This is a family heirloom that you have, that you hold dearly to your heart. So I am in support of Bill 450, and I would still appreciate the idea that I might be able to hand my home to my children when I am gone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Eli Valdez. I'm actually one of the newer residents of Windsor Park. I actually bought my house in 2019. I said this the last time I was here, but and I'm actually not the newest resident of Windsor Park. Actually, I have two neighbors that moved in front of me after I did, maybe like a year or so after. So like the newest resident is maybe 2020, 2021. But my concern, I mean, I bought my house at a young age, right? Trying to build wealth like how everybody's been talking about. But now I can't even sell my house to, you know, or I mean, maybe I possibly could, but I don't think it'll be like morally correct to do so from the knowledge that I have now, because I'm also very new to the knowledge that has been coming up about the whole situation that's been going on around in Windsor Park as of like 3 weeks ago, and I've been there since 2019. So yeah, I'm completely in support of this bill. And hopefully it can, because the house is kind of rapidly deteriorating, like as we speak. I still have issues with some of the stuff around the house that I thought was just, you know, unlucky, but from this new knowledge, I'm just like, okay, maybe that problem probably has to do with that. So. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I see that you have your little family there today. I was watching the little ones in the back. I think they were drawing pictures, so you tell them that we'd love to have those on the wall to frame, so.
Yes, my niece and my nephew, which are actually living with us right now, so they're in the home situation, which it's a little rough that they have to see grow up.
Absolutely. Well, you tell them we enjoyed their artwork. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please go ahead when you're ready.
For the record, my name is Bishop Derek Rimson. I am the chair of the Political Action and Social Justice for NAACP, as well as religious advisor for National Action Network. We honor the chair and all of those on the committee. Again, we salute our Senator Dina Neal for taking out the time to do all of the research and to bring this bill to this point. This to me is simply, it's a no-brainer. We have these residents, we're talking literally 50 to 60 years of a deteriorating house neighborhood. I've had aging parents that have lived in a home for 50 plus years. As the last person that spoke, aging wants to, it's not easy to make the move, but again, this is a no-brainer. and we're looking for the state, the city, to provide the finances. I don't know what we have to do to provide that finance to help them make the move, the transition, pay to help them make the transition, not just get the house or build in another location, but also help these that are up in age to help them to make the transition. So extra finances to help them make the transition so that the transition becomes an easy transition. And so we're definitely hoping and we're hoping and praying that you guys will be sensitive enough to do what needs to be done so that these 90 residents whose houses are just constantly deteriorating, they're living in deteriorating conditions. This young man was just simply, he's a young resident trying to get, to build wealth. For those that are older residents, they want to be able to pass down their wealth to their children and grandchildren. And so naturally in this deteriorating condition, this is just not acceptable. It's actually appalling. So I'm hoping that the cities will come together, state will help to intervene, even if we have to go federal, get some federal dollars and federal funds to help them to make the transition so that we're not at this table again or in this setting again 5 to 10 years later talking about the same thing. Let's get this resolved as soon, as quickly, and as rapidly as we possibly can. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
My name is Edward McCall, and I've been a resident of Windsor Park since 1966. And I don't want to repeat what a lot have been said, but I agree with it. And I support Senator Neal's bill, SB 450, fully supported. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Aisha Goins, for the record, AESHA GOINS, and I'm here on behalf of the NAACP. Thank you, Chair and Committee, for listening to the bill, listening to the community, and being available. I appreciate all of the questions. I appreciate Senator Neal. She is our community champion. We want to let her know that we don't just stand behind her, we stand behind the community. I hope that the committee heard the bill and understood. I know the finances sound a little different, but regardless of what it is, regardless of how it has to be done, I'd like to see it done. Also, I just want to just talk a little bit about how we build generational wealth, right? We build generational wealth. One of the ways we do that is by passing homes, paid for homes, down to our family members. Now, I know some of these families that were forced to leave, and I know some of the families that are still living there. And if there is a space where the family is moved and then they can't pass that down, that is still taking away their right and their finances and their investment. So I just want to, as we're dialoguing about what this should look like and should there be any restrictions, I think that if we're going to place them in the home, there should be no restrictions because they've already done all the things that they needed to do to be a home owner. And all we're doing is transferring that right. I appreciate you, and I urge the Finance Committee to support this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in Las Vegas in support? We will go to the phone lines. BPS, let us know when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer testimony in support of SB 450, please press *9 or raise hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 067, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Caller, you are unmuted and may continue.
Yes, my name is Webster Davis. I've been in Winslow since 1980. My father bought this home in 1966. He passed in December 81. And we've been fighting and holding on to this house ever since. And yet fighting. And we in support of Senator Neal's Bill 450. And we just asking that you reach into your heart and help her pass this bill to help us in Winslow Park. Since the city of North Las Vegas is not here tonight. We appreciate her. We just thank her for her tireless efforts that she's putting in, all the hard work, all the research she had went forth and did, and we appreciate her to the highest. We stand in support of Senator Bill 450. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cody Hoskins, Political Director for SEIU Local 1107. SEIU 1107 provides its support for SB 450, which will ensure families are able to relocate from Windsor Park development. You've heard from many of the community members and homeowners who live in the area, so I won't repeat a lot of that. But we find it heartbreaking and unjust. These families have not been made whole, and we strongly urge the committee's support for SB 450 so we can start right by these families. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Frank Fritz, F-R-I-T-Z. I'm a senior fellow at the William S. Boyd School of Law. However, I testify in my personal capacity, and I do not represent the views of UNLV or the Boyd School of Law. I strongly support this bill, and I urge the committee to vote for it. In 1993, a City of North Las Vegas employee, Mr. James Hobby, asked the Nevada Assembly Ways and Means Committee for funds to, quote, allow the Windsor Park families to reestablish their living conditions to the standard that once existed in Windsor Park. This bill, SB 450, will fulfill that promise 30 years later. The state of Nevada and the city of North Las Vegas have long recognized their duty to help the families of Windsor Park after the ground subsided. They worked with the federal government to rehabilitate homes, build new homes, offer grants, and relocate about 90 Windsor families. Today, however, about 90 families are still stranded in Windsor Park in broken homes. They were not offered new or rehabilitated homes, or the new or rehabilitated homes that they were offered were poorly constructed and in no way equivalent to their Windsor homes. They could not afford to move from their homes, their biggest and only investment, using the $50,000 or $100,000 grants the city offered. This bill will help those stranded families move to new, equivalent homes on stable soil. It is fair, it is just, and it will fulfill the promise Mr. Hobby made to this legislature 30 years ago. I strongly support this bill, and I urge the committee to vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Any additional callers, BPS?
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. My name is Ariel Williams, first name Ariel, A-A-R-I-E-L, last name Williams. And I'm calling in support of SB 450, and I just want to put on the record and thank you to Senator Neal for her efforts and to the professors at William S. Boyd School of Law as well. I concur with Senator Canizaro's remarks that this is wild, and I hope that we all do what we can to ensure that the Windsor Park residents are made whole. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Caller with the last three digits 080, please press *6 to unmute yourself. If you have just joined us and would like to offer testimony on SB 450, please press *9 or raise hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. Thank you, Chair. That concludes callers for support.
Thank you very much. And we will go to opposition here in Carson City. Opposition in Las Vegas. And seeing none, opposition on the phone lines, BPS, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer opposition testimony to SB 450, please press *9 or raise hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue.
Hello. I had trouble doing my testimony with the support. It wouldn't let me. I got disconnected somehow. So I apologize. This is in support of SB 450. Chair Neal and members of the committee, my name is Linda Stout, a volunteer member of Sierra Club's Legislative Committee. On behalf of the club and the world's largest environmental volunteer organization and our more than 30,000 members and supporters statewide, I am speaking in support of SB 450. The story of Windsor Park is heart-wrenching. Overpumping and groundwater caused this 1960 subdivision of roughly 300 predominantly black families to crack, buckle, and sink, making homes uninhabitable. One of the Sierra Club's missions is to protect and restore the quality of the natural and human environment. SB 450 is an environmental justice bill that establishes a program for relocating the remaining 90 residents whose homes and surrounding community have sustained irreversible damage. According to the United States Geological Survey, more than 17,000 square miles across the United States have been impacted by subsidence, and 80% of those known cases are the result of unsustainable land and water use practices. Subsidence from groundwater depletion is often gradual and widespread, but in the Windsor Park subdivision, major fault lines and fissure zones exacerbated the subsidence. Since 1989, and as a result of Windsor Park, the Department of Housing and Urban Development requires special subsidence hazard assessment for property near known subsidence features. Recent efforts to build a warehouse on nearby undeveloped land have raised concerns for the tax-paying residents of Windsor Park who have been denied homeowners insurance, property improvements, and live amid vacant lots. If their community cannot be restored, then we are obligated to relocate their community. For these reasons, we urge you to support SB 450. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we are in opposition. Is there anyone else on the phone lines in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer opposition testimony to SB 450, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. There are no callers to offer opposition testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And I would go to neutral here in Carson City. Welcome, Mr. Acroft.
Good morning, Chair. Steve Acroft, the Administrator of the Nevada Housing Division, here in neutral to answer any questions the committee might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Titus, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Acroft, for being here. I have a question regarding the federal funds versus state funds, and if you could address that on the housing thing. If we give state funds, will we be at risk of losing any potential federal funds out there for this assistance?
Steve Acroft, for the record, I would really need to do a deeper dive into the funding sources. But typically, going back to a question that Senator Goycochea asked previously, we will try to leverage any eligible funds with federal funds, state funds, anything that might be out there. So hopefully that satisfies your answer.
One little follow-up to that. During the testimony in favor of this, we had somebody mention that they bought the home in 2019 and that there's actually been homes purchased since then. Do you take into consideration what those homes sold for? Is that relevant when we purchase or buy out these folks and equal prices of values of properties? Does the housing division look into that at all?
Steve Acroft, for the record, I don't know that that would be, well, what would be a consideration would be what the existing mortgage is on that particular home, and then how we could potentially assist that individual. So it would have to be almost on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that, because some of these homes, like literally 60 years ago and whatever mortgage they have versus somebody buying it 2 years ago. So thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Acroft? Thank you very much, and thank you for being here today. Anyone in neutral in Las Vegas? Seeing none, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, anybody in neutral?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer neutral testimony on SB 450, please press star 9 or raise your hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. There are no callers to offer neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, Senator Neal, closing comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee, for hearing SB 450. I do want to put on the record that I did offer the current Mayor Pam Goins-Brown to co-present when it was in BDR form. I had a whole BDR presentation. I called her the day it dropped. And then so within 3 hours of me having possession of it, because I was clearly in Senate Finance or the committee I'm always in, and then I called and she said she had to read the bill, and then to me she declined because I never heard from her again. Then she contacted me after all of the press and the media about a week and a half ago and asked to meet, and I said okay, and she said she wanted to sit down and talk privately about the bill, and then we tried. The idea was to meet on Monday, and as you know, on Monday I believe we were in Senate Finance until 10 p.m. And so I knew on Friday that I texted her and said I will not be able to meet on Monday according to my LA. And then when I finally got time to work on the amendment, which was yesterday, I texted her early in the morning to let her know. So I am not, and she was flying to DC, so we haven't had a chance to talk, but I'm operating off of the fact that I did offer her the opportunity to co-present, and because of their position, which their position in revenue was in opposition, it is what it is. And so hopefully we will be able to communicate and talk, and the plan that I am bringing forward is no different than the plan in the early 90s. The difference is we will know who the developer is, that the developer will be a trusted developer, and in this regard, I will at least have, you know, some kind of involvement in making sure that the residents are done right. And so I want to thank you for hearing this bill and allowing this bill to be heard in this committee on the fiscal piece of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on the bill, and we will go to our last item on the agenda, which is public comment. The number you will be dialing if you're calling in is 888-475-4499. The meeting ID is 819-3124-8767, and then press pound. And when you're asked for your participant ID, please press pound. So I'll begin here in Carson City. Any public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none. Las Vegas, any public comment or any artwork from little people? BPS, phone lines for public comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to offer public comment today, please press *9 or raise your hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. We have no callers to offer public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, thank you to the staff and thank you to everyone who has presented today and helped get this meeting done. We will be meeting again on Monday morning. Committee members, that completes our business. Have a good rest of the day, and this meeting is adjourned.
Happy Mother's Day to all you moms.
Thank you very much, Senator Goicoechea. Yes, happy Mother's Day.